Hi, welcome everyone.
Welcome. Hello.
So, I'm Michele Belcastro, and we are at the Violet Butterfly Metaphysical Healing Center. And Lisa?
And I'm Lisa Miliaresis, medium and author, and I welcome you to join us. We would love to engage in conversation regarding after-death communication and spirit world. It is such a broad topic full of so many wonderful things that we can share. So we welcome the discussion here.
Hi, welcome everyone.
Regarding after-death communication. So sorry, we had a little technical difficulties.
All right.
So did you start with that? And that's how we joined you, right?
Yeah.
So just excuse us for a moment. We had just trying to figure something out. All right, well, let's just continue then.
Yep, we'll just pretend that never happened. Okay. All right, so this is episode 2.
Yes, it is.
Yay us. We managed to get here a second time. Okay, so we are talking about the spirit world and communication.
Right, and we did have some people that did bring up some questions ahead of time, which we do appreciate, and we welcome anyone else to engage below if you want to ask some additional questions.
All right, I'm just going to go down your list of friends here and start inviting people to join us.
So you can't click all.
I know, right? It would be so much easier.
I can do that while you can.
Well, I can do that while I ask you a question.
Yes.
So you can start talking. How about that?
That works.
Okay. Just click. I got everybody. So just
okay.
We'll click done. Okay. Enough of that. But we do have a friend, Janet. She's joined.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's kick this off by addressing skepticism. How do you handle that? Because not everybody comes in as just a full-blown believer.
I believe it's good to have a healthy amount of skepticism because there's so many different practitioners out there, and not everybody's on the same page. Personally, I don't want to know anything about you before you come to visit with me, and in my practice, I don't allow you to ask to speak to a certain specific loved one. I feel that whatever is meant to come through will come through. The spirit speaks in a symbolic energy language that connects everyone and everything. They hear your thoughts, they hear your prayers. So when communication unfolds, sometimes it's not direct, they have their way of speaking that is a little bit of an unfolding of understanding what it is that they're saying. But once you put it together, it's a puzzle piece that fits. There's no denying it. You understand it. I record the sessions so you have them to take home with you. But once I'm done with my channeling, I channel up, I channel down. Before I channel down, I ask people if they have a question or something that they was not addressed that they'd like to ask. And then at that point in time, they can ask for someone to come. So I think I got off on a tangent as usual. So skepticism, when you aren't being told anything about someone and validations come through, whether you're getting a direct communication to yourself or witnessing a communication to someone in your group, it has a healing effect. It's like planting a seed. I, as a medium, love to watch when the seed is planted and someone who comes in as a skeptic leaves as someone who is either a believer or on their road to believing. It's not up to me to change your mind. It's up to the experience to plant the seed, basically.
Okay. So, the last time I ended up sharing some personal experiences, and I've had like another one come up, and I feel like it's related to the skepticism.
Sure.
So the last gallery reading you had here, my father-in-law came through, and over the weekend, he came through with my sister-in-law, and I really do believe he is trying desperately to communicate with his children, like basically through us.
Right.
And would you consider that kind of like planting seeds as well? Because he is basically using other people as messengers to, I don't know, help
to get their communication across. It's not uncommon for someone to come to a group session to receive a message for another.
Okay.
And it's not uncommon for spirit to multitask like no one's business, because they can. So knowing that you're aware of communication and connection and have your way of understanding things and synchronicities and looking through, what that may mean and expressing that to another, definitely they will utilize what they can to get their point across for a healing to take place.
Awesome. Yay. I like the whole sound of that. So many of us need that healing.
It's what it's about,
Okay. So one of the other questions that we got was, do you think seeing cardinals or finding feathers is a sign?
Well, it can be a sign, and let me explain my thoughts around this. Being that here's your thoughts and prayers, and they want to connect with you. They may take the idea that you see a cardinal and you believe it's going to be meaningful to you that they're making a connection, and they want you to have a connection. So they may work with nature to provide that as a validation for you. Does that mean every cardinal, in the forest is giving you a sign? Probably not. But what it does mean is when you see that cardinal and you do think of your loved one and it resonates with you, that it is.
Okay. So could it be something other than a cardinal?
Yes.
So there are some days I come out of my house and there are 3 or 5 dragonflies all hanging out in my front yard.
And you feel and you have that connection and that belief that it is. I mean, my stepsister just emailed me this morning about 2 hummingbirds that just came and stayed right with her,
Cool.
She took that as a sign. I agree with her. And some people say feathers or pennies or whatever your belief system is. So here, in my opinion, Spirit's utilizing your belief system to allow a connection and a communication.
So if you believe that finding a penny is a communication from Spirit, then it pretty much is.
Yes.
Just because you believe it and they know it.
Well, in my thought process, they know that that's what you're thinking because they can hear it. That's how they're connecting. And think about this for a sec. It's not easy for Spirit to make their connection to many of us because we have too much chatter in our head, and they need to be able to make their way through. They're in another dimension where there's no such thing as time, and it's at a higher frequency. So they need to slow down that vibration. I need to elevate mine to make that connection. Well, maybe not everyone is elevating their energy level. So it's like a radio receiver where they're connecting and we're connecting on a certain level. Now, many times they've come through and validated that they've tried to get in touch. They've tried to give signs. People have that analysis paralysis going on. They're doing the what ifs. Well, it could have been this, or it could have been that. Another form of skepticism, but taking it a little bit too far. And what is the harm in saying, I hear you, thank you, because they're trying to come through. I mean, if I was Spirit and I'm knocking at your door to get someone to recognize me and you don't acknowledge and open that door, I'll wait till you get here. I'm going to stop knocking on the door. But that's just my opinion.
Well, and I could see where certain personalities would be exactly like that.
Right.
Or they might keep on pounding on the door until
you recognize it. Now, the easiest way for them to connect is during your sleep state, because you quiet that mind and you elevate. Now there's people that can learn to be aware and elevate that on a regular basis, which is what could be taught.
Maybe we'll address that a little bit
when
we're done.
All right.
If I can remember that
long.
Okay, so we have Michele joining us.
Hello, Michele.
All right. Can you explain why certain people don't come through when you want them to?
It's not up to me who comes through or what they say. I know that there's a bigger picture here of what's needed to happen, which is far beyond my understanding or the client's understanding. And I think that's only part of it. I think there's another aspect of, is there something else going on in your life that is not actually required? People that I've been in contact with that have, let's just say, they understand that their mother is around, and they have that belief and that faith that she's fine and that she's good in the world of spirit. So when we have our group setting, she may not be the one that come through because there's no need. She already knows that it's okay. That's just an example.
Okay.
There's other times when they're not as the stronger energy to come through. And I think I may have said this last time, like maybe you didn't like Aunt Betty and Aunt Betty's coming through. I ask you to please acknowledge Aunt Betty, because then she may be the stronger energy to bring forth the mom that you did want to speak to. So kind of have to go with the flow on that, but it's really beyond me to know the reason why.
Okay. That might be so disappointing for people, though.
Well, once they see the understanding, they have an attachment to that outcome.
Mm-hmm.
What I implore people to do is to leave their attachments at the door and to come in with an open mind. Even the skeptics, if you're open-minded, you'll see things that will encourage you to believe or have faith in something, even if it's not your individual reading, but witnessing the reading of another. And it stirs something inside. It plants that seed. And then that can unfold.
Okay. Awesome. So we've had a few more people join. We have Kelly that is joined, and Amy and Debbie.
Hello, all.
Thank you all for joining us. If anyone has any questions that we're not addressing, please send us a message, reply in the comments, and we'll get your...
Will you be able to see that there?
Yeah, I can see that okay. Even if I have to get really close. All right, so let me see. I don't know. I'm not drawn to that question, but I'll ask it anyway.
You don't have to.
What do you find is the most fulfilling aspect about your work?
Well, it's when you feel, years ago, before I went public, I always felt the desire that I needed to share this information because it's very valuable to know that your loved ones live on. We don't die. That's a drawn inside me, light driven, if you will. It was a drive inside of me. And to be able to see people get that understanding and to go on their merry way and heal. There's some people that maybe only need to come once to a medium to get that, acquire that understanding, and then they don't have that need anymore because they already understand that their loved ones are okay. It's almost like they're on a trip somewhere else. They're okay. And it gives you that satisfaction, and that healing takes place. Now, communication is healing regardless of where you live, if you're on the other side or you are here. Because when that communication happens, it doesn't, not to minimize, just heal those on the earth plane, but it helps those on the other side as well. So to see and to feel that gives me like a rush of happiness, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And that makes me feel fulfilled. And I really feel blessed to live in a time and a space where I can share my connection freely, because we all know that there has been different times in history where people couldn't do that.
I hadn't ever really considered the fact that the healing also happens to spirit.
Yeah.
I mean, I've witnessed a number of your gallery readings, which have clearly been healing for people here. And there have been people on the other side, spirit, that have apologized for their actions when they were here. But I guess I never really thought that
to receive that acceptance and that permission, or that on some level it helps them.
It's amazing.
Yeah. We have to
Wow.
get out of our perspective of us.
Absolutely. Wow. Okay.
Glad you asked the question.
Apparently, yes. I needed to hear that answer for whatever reason. Okay. So there have been some questions about what happens if someone ends their own life and them in spirit world.
Well, there have been some that believe, some that are here, that believe that if someone commits suicide, that they don't go to a good place. And I can automatically say that that has not been my experience, that when I have connected with many people who have commit suicide, and they're all in a healing place. Now, they may not be in, many of them are actually in a very good place because they've acquired the understanding that they needed to, that they couldn't get to while they were here. I cannot speak for every instance because they're all individual, but they do still learn, and their soul still grows on the other side, just it's in a different way than it would be here. Now, I'm not encouraging anybody to do that. The encouragement is to live out your journey here on earth, not to do that. But when those that have done it, they have been continued the healing. The ones are the ones that I hear on here that have come through.
That should put some people's minds at ease.
Right. And there's been, I can't put a finger on how many, but there's been quite a few because I don't have total recall of them all. But there has been a good enough number to know that that is the norm.
Okay, cool. All right. So we have a question from Amy. Have you picked up physical symptoms during readings that you feel, or have you ever been afraid?
Well, when you're doing the communication, it comes through thoughts, sound, even feelings. So there have been times when I would feel the sensation of someone's illness. Now, in the very beginning, I was never afraid. I was never afraid when I communicate and this would happen. But in the very beginning, I was too attached to other people receiving the communication that I was providing. And I think it got me stuck where I would feel it a little longer. Mm-hmm. As soon as it's acknowledged, the feeling leaves me. It's not a bad thing. It's kind of, if I can explain it, it's like a stamp or an overlay. So if someone had a heart attack, I may feel pressure on my chest, but I'm not going to have that pain. But thank you for the question, Amy. I hope I answered it.
Wow. It's a good thing that it's acknowledged, right?
Yeah, in the very beginning, I would have a harder time with it.
Yeah. Because
maybe I would have a little trouble breathing or something like that.
Sure.
But as, I've been doing this for about 20 years now publicly, so now I'm just okay with it. It just rolls now, but it was a learning curve.
So that kind of makes me think of people that are highly sensitive or empaths that would be dealing with similar types of experiences where you need to learn to ask, in the case of an empath, is this mine? You needed to go through that process to a certain degree, realizing it's not yours and to let it go.
Right.
It's interesting how it overlaps.
Oh, yeah. All of this work is connected. The work of a medium, the connection to the symbolic energy language is the same thing that an empath would feel, or someone who's doing Reiki, any of this energy work.
Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about the symbolic energy language, because you've used that term countless times, and it kind of sort of just right over my head.
If somebody asked me what languages I speak, I would say I speak English, I speak Greek, and I speak Soul.
Okay. Okay.
We've referenced it as the sixth sense. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, it's not just, not to minimize, speaking to those on the other side, but let's say you have a pet. You can understand your pet to a certain degree by the vibration they're giving off. It is a symbolic energy language that you're connecting with. It is getting out of our perception of our minds and being aware of the energy that's around us to be interpreted into a language. Now, think about this for a sec. Let's say that you had a intuition that came to manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to manifestation, you felt something. If you can remember what you felt and kind of interpret it into a word is one way to look at it.
Okay, you kind of lost me.
I'm sorry.
Hey, that's just me though.
I probably lost others too. I didn't mean to.
So, okay, let me see if I can. I'm really into animals, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You know that about me. So when one of my kitties at home looks at me in a particular way, I know that, and aside from like human language here, because that's what I have to work with, she looks at me.
I feel your pain.
And she, exactly, right? So maybe we're like right on. That I know how she feels. I see that. I feel the way she loves and cares.
She's projecting a language to you that you're interpreting, and that is an energy symbolic language or a piece of it.
Okay. So we can kind of learn that in our everyday lives with other species that are here. They can kind of teach us.
Or even
those
before
skills.
you walk into a meeting or in a room, I mean, you could sense the room energy. You can sense the energy of an object. It doesn't have to be a human or a living, breathing thing. So
just a little bit easier to deal with.
But I'm just using as an example.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so it connects everyone and everything.
Cool. Okay. Well,
and you could bring yourself to an awareness of this, and then from there you make it your own.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Kelly, she understood all of that even before I went on my little side trip.
I'm glad to hear that.
And Trisha has joined us.
Welcome.
Okay, so one other question.
Sure.
Why you? Why you doing this kind of work?
I have no idea why me. I have no idea. Other than we all have a journey in our life. You know, I do believe people can learn how to do this, but maybe they're not going to do it to the degree of going public and writing books and things like that I do it, but it would enhance their understanding, their journey, if you will. I really don't know why me, but I appreciate it and I go with it. And you have to respect, okay, so initially when I would receive information and I was scared to share with other people because I was afraid of what they would think of me, judgments, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got older and I didn't care now. But how could I not believe and trust the divine messages that I receive? That would be like not trusting in the divinity of it. So part of that switched my faith, not only in what I'm receiving, but in myself.
Okay.
So it gave me more encouragement.
Awesome.
And then as soon as I started to trust, things start to flow. It's kind of like that surrender and let go.
Mm-hmm. So what was it like when you first kind of came out of the...
I'd open my mouth and I felt like nothing would come out. I would squeak. I wanted to give everyone cake or cookies because I was afraid nothing would come out. But it always happened. It would always flow. That never happened. It was a fear.
It was a fear, but when you were on, you were on.
I was on. It wasn't up to me. That's the whole thing. It was not up to me. I just had to show up and allow.
That had to have been a hard lesson.
Well, the very first time I went in a public area, it was at a Mind Body Spirit Expo in King of Prussia, and there was 75 people in the group. So I'm talking to
No
spirit,
pressure.
and well, I didn't know any better. So I'm talking to spirit, and spirit's listening. I'm listening to spirit, and I'm talking to the room, and it's all deer in the headlights. No one's engaging. No one's doing anything. Well, I'm talking to spirit, and I say, this is the first time, and this is the last time. I'm not doing this anymore. But then as soon as I was done, all these people were acknowledging things. They just got quiet because they're listening. And as a person that's practicing or doing this work, what I learned is you don't need to attach to the outcome of someone responding. Just let it flow and let it go.
Wow, that is such a big lesson.
Huge. 75 people, huge.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's good. It's all good. It's all part of the journey. They've always had my back.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I just have to not worry. I say things that make no sense to me, and yet somebody's understanding it.
So you mentioned earlier that you think that pretty much anyone can learn to do what you do?
They can learn. Well, one of the books that I have is Spiritual Guidance, Trusting the Voice Within. It's an interactive workbook.
This one?
Yes, that one. And
shameless plug.
But in there, you get a very high level of what it takes to go within, to connect to your spirit guide, to connect to that language that's within. And you may want to make that connection to do what I do, or you may want it to have more balance, joy, and ease in your life, less stress. Because as you meditate, you go within, you have that. The symbolic energy language is around all of us, just like I'm telling you. But we are so, as a human beings, we're so stuck in what we see, and we don't get out of that perspective and allow another understanding to come through. So it's all about having that awareness and then trusting it and moving forward with it. So I do have counseling sessions. So we do them web-based or in person to help you with that if it's something that calls you.
Awesome. Now, a shameless plug for the shop.
Yes, of course. It's a lovely shop too.
We have you coming in February 27th, which is a Thursday evening, to teach some of these exercises from your book.
Correct, yes. And then again in March to do channeling.
Yes. I can't think that far out.
I know, right? But it's all very, to me, it's very exciting. I enjoy sharing it. I enjoy helping people to get that understanding. And, you know, I'm not going to be here in this life forever. And if I can help other people to move forward with the same work and understanding, it's healing for all that connect with it in a positive way.
Awesome. So I have run out of questions.
Okay.
I know that's amazing, right?
Anybody else got any questions over there?
Nothing that has popped up yet. If you guys have any thoughts or questions that Lisa can answer this evening, I welcome you to go ahead and, pop in a comment. Otherwise, for people that are watching this later on, please do comment on our Facebook Live event here, and we'll be sure to answer any questions that you have in our next live event.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I thank everyone for joining us. It's been quite exciting for us to do this.
It's been a journey.
We're learning a lot. We're learning a lot with technology.
And just being kind of comfortable with whatever comes through.
Sure.
Like I was kind of afraid of stupid questions, and it doesn't seem like any of my questions are stupid. So
no, it's all good.
All right. Well, I guess we're about ready to sign off. Oh, wait.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. We'll be posting when the next event will be.
Thank you.
Namaste.